Hi everyone, Charlotte Bartelt. I'm thankful to be able to have this opportunity to share a few thoughts with you, and I hope you're doing well. So, everyone I speak with comments about how everything is so different than anything we've ever known before, and that's true because none of us have ever been through anything like this. So, it's new to all of us and it's different, but I don't think it has to be all bad. I really can't identify with being out of work or having extra hours with nothing to do because I've continued to work throughout this self isolation, quarantine, shelter in place, whatever you choose to call it. I've been working from home for at least part of every week for over 20 years. So that's not new to me. When we first started what they call Flexi Place for my work, we were advised to continue with the same routine, to get up at the same time, dress for work, physically go to a place set up as an office. And the house we lived in had two levels. So I'd get up at the same time, get dressed, and I went to work downstairs because that's where I had my office set up. Keeping the routine made for an easy transition to working from home. And it didn't have any distractions for me being in that basement office. So sometimes I'd even work past my regularly scheduled time, but I've learned better and I don't do that anymore. They're not very often. So work hasn't been a big distraction for me, but what I really miss is being with people. And as hard as this isolation has been for some people, I don't think it's been all bad. For one example, going to Walmart once or twice a month instead of 2 times a week is a good thing for us. Every time I go, I usually have a list, and almost always something that's not on the list will jump in the cart. And so I haven't had to worry about so many unplanned purchases as before. And I've really enjoyed getting out of the habit of going all the time. I want to share with you Romans 8:28, which tells us, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose." God never promised us that things would be easy, that there wouldn't be any struggles. We've heard that before. But he did promise that he can bring good or create good out of whatever circumstances we face. So recently I was driving on my little country road where I live, and I saw this little girl about 2 or 3 years old walking with her dad to the mailbox. And I slowed down as I was passing, and she stopped and she waved at me. And that just made my day. I thought happy thoughts all day, that whole day. That little girl didn't know the world was hurting, or that businesses were failing, or that people were afraid to leave their homes, or that their family members were going to get sick. She was just a happy little girl, and she was probably excited to have her daddy home with her. Some people have been not able to work and are not be able to go to their jobs or even work from home. So what an opportunity for parents and children to spend time together. I've heard about and seen pictures of families hiking together, cooking, watching movies, or planting a garden. Or how about those families with teenagers who are actually sitting together with their parents while they watch an online worship together? And when they were at the church building, they probably wouldn't be sitting anywhere near each other. I've tried to keep a schedule so that I don't forget how to do that. So I have chosen to watch the Washington Street services at 9 a.m. every Sunday morning, even though we could watch them some other time. And after that, I usually watch some other services because I have friends and family members that have sent me links to their services. And I usually watch 3 services every Sunday morning, and also watch Susan Edwards' very entertaining Sunday school. And I get all of that done in the same time that I would have been at the church building for our service. So it made me think about a story, this whole situation, the story of Esther. And we know about Esther. She was a Jew that was taken from her home to live in the king's palace. She received 12 months of beauty treatments before she met the king. And then he picked her out of all the young virgins that were taken and prepared to meet the king. He chose her to be his queen, and she was probably just a teenager at the time. So all this time while she's there receiving treatments and getting prepared, and after she's been chosen, Mordecai, who was her relation, could have been an uncle or a cousin, it says, but anyway, he was her guardian. He was keeping tabs on her while she was inside the palace. And he learned of Haman's plan to destroy the Jews, and he was able to let Esther know what was happening. And she sent word to Mordecai that no one could go to the king without being summoned because they would have been killed. And she hadn't been called in 30 days. In Esther 4, starting in verse 12, it says, "When Esther's words were reported to Mordecai, he sent back this answer: 'Do not think that because you are in the king's house, you alone of all the Jews will escape. For if you remain silent at this time, relief and deliverance for the Jews will arise from another place, but you and your father's family will perish.'" So Mordecai let her know that if all the Jews were killed, she and her family would also die, even though she had kept it a secret that she was actually a Jew. He also told her that if she did not intervene on behalf of the Jews, God would still provide a way out or another opportunity for the Jews. God would take care of them, whether she chose to do that or not. And he finished by saying, "And who knows but that you have come to your royal position for such a time as this." Over the years, I think about this situation and the fact that if this was part of God's plan, it took over 12 months in the making to put Esther in the position that she was in. And God could do anything. I mean, we know that he could have done that if that was his choice to put her there for that position and know what was going to happen. But it makes me think about the opportunities that we have. Esther chose to have all the Jews in Susa and her attendants, and she herself fasted for 3 days before she went to visit the king, and asked, through a series of events, finally asked that he save her people, which he did. And maybe we've been put in our current situations here for such a time as this. Maybe we have time for things that we didn't have time for before. And I think we need to look for the good that we can accomplish during these times. Because maybe some things that were normal before no longer have to be normal. I know for myself, I've been too busy being too busy. And I know that was true in my life. And hopefully that can be changed. I hope to emerge from this time period with the better discernment for what my priorities should be. And by slowing down, I hope to better hear what God is saying to me and how the Spirit is leading me so that those opportunities are not lost. Paul told the Christians in Corinth in 1 Corinthians 15:58, "Therefore, my dear brothers and sisters, stand firm. Let nothing move you. Always give yourselves fully to the work of the Lord, because you know that your labor in the Lord is not in vain." And also in Galatians 6:9-10, Paul says again, "Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. Therefore, as we have opportunity, let us do good to all people, especially to those who belong in the family of believers." I hope that all of you will take advantage of the opportunities God has shown you during this position and what's going forward. And I hope that that you will see what it is that he wants to use in your life. I'm sure God's going to bring us back together sometime soon. I'm hoping for that to happen. And I want to end with this thought. In Romans 15:13, "May the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace as you trust in him, so that you may overflow with hope by the power of the Holy Spirit." Be well. Thanks.